To you. There we go. Hey, we're back. Not only we're back, we're totally live. Totally live. This is it. This is the room. That's my coat, which I didn't hang up. Let's get rid of that. Take it off camera. We're good. Whoa. So, what's doing? I just wanted to take a look. Now you can see. We're gonna fix the hair. We're gonna make that whole thing work. So, what are we talking about here today? Well, we're gonna talk about what to talk about. How's that sound? It sounds redundant, doesn't it? Like, we talk about what? What kind of a topic? Well, I could tell you, it comes up kind of frequently. Just move this over here to the left a little bit. This way I can see what I'm doing. Edit audience. That's going to come up. This way I can see your comments. Good. Let's get rid of that. We're back to StreamYard right here. Whoa. I got to tell you, what do we talk about? Hey, look, on my program, this program, what do I talk about? Hey, a lot of times I talk about just doing this darn thing. So why do I talk about that? Because I have nothing else to say? I'm waiting for the comments to come through. No, not necessarily. It's not because I have nothing to say. It's because I wanted to share with you this whole process of what's been going on for the past 2 years. More, if you really want to take a look back on the history of doing programs, about hosting, about that whole process of getting comfortable doing these things, about getting comfortable screwing up on camera. Is that smart? Well, you want to know something? In my opinion, from my perspective, from what I'm looking to accomplish, the answer to that is yeah. It really is. Making the same mistake day after day after day and not changing it, man, that's not good. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is actually moving forward, advancing through obstacles, even if those obstacles are, well, my own obstacles. And look, there would have been an easy way to create this thing beautiful right from the get-go. Easy. How do you do that? God, very simple. Pay somebody oodles of money and say, hey, produce this whole thing for me. Easy to do. You don't do it in a spare bedroom that didn't even paint the walls on. Let's turn that. Yeah, I got, I don't paint. So let's just tilt this down a little bit more. So there we go. We could fix that a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to fix the camera while you're on camera, but that's what we do. Okay. So we have that aspect of it. Still a little bit high in the hog. Let's turn that down there. Okay, so that's good. All right, now we just got a solid wall. Then we can back up a little bit and make it go this way. So that's okay. Here's the next thing we're trying to work out. Well, that's one aspect of it. Then a matter of like, how do you make the wall entirely black back there? Get a bigger room. That's an easy way of doing it. Or put up a green screen and make it work that way. Done that. I got my little green screen over here. Could use that and do that whole thing. But whatever. The point is that do I share all of these things with you just because I do? Well, I do because I want you to understand the fact that getting started on something, getting started on a project, just takes really getting started to make it work. To make it work that way. We'll save that call for later. But getting started on a project just means getting started. That is the hardest thing. I hear this all the time, all the time. Well, how do I do that? Take the first step. That's it. Just boop, take the first step and go. Oh, but what if I screw up? Okay, so what? Look, I'm sharing this with you. What if I screw up on camera over here? You want to take a look back? I should make a blooper reel. Oh, but then I got to learn how to edit. But I should make a blooper reel of all of those screw ups. But the thing is that you learn from all of those screw ups. Now, what do you do with that learning curve? Well, if you want to learn and you want to teach people, then you know what? Highlight it. Highlight it. How many people do you know that have gone into coaching? And the reason why they coach is because they've learned the way. They've learned how to do whatever it is. How many people were overweight, seriously overweight, and they're now health coaches? A lot. Hey, Carrie, good afternoon to you. How many people health coaches and decided to become nutritionalists. How many people had health problems and became nutritionists? How many people were dealing with a chronic illness? Gosh, I know so many of them, certainly being involved with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. One woman comes to mind. She got diagnosed. She was having a really tough time. Came to the conclusion the best thing for her to do is to eat properly and get rid of stress. Completely changed her career. Matter of fact, she dropped it. She was in a career, it was one of these high stress careers, said, that's it, all done. My health is more important. And then what she learned from going through that, she now shares with everybody. And she shares the complete story about the disease, about why she dropped her career, and why she went into something else. I know somebody else, same kind of thing. Very, very, very successful career. And she's like, that's it, gone on to something else. Somewhere along the process, they'll either share this through different seminars, webinars, conversations, being a host or a guest on different programs, but they'll share all of that stuff. Maybe they'll write a book. They'll do all those kinds of things. And I tell you right now, you take a look at some of the most successful people out there, and it wasn't that they were handed the golden spoon. That's not the ones that are most successful. And a lot of times they are really not the ones who are most successful. Gosh, how many people you know come from a really wealthy family, had everything handed to them, and then they screw up and screw up big? Take a look at some of the headlines. How many other people have been dragged through the dirt, have seen absolutely nothing, gotten absolutely nothing, and then they've seen the light. They've turned themselves around. Again, look at the news. See some of these people that are in the paper. See some of these people that are on some of these different programs and stuff like that have just gone on to create unbelievable things. But they've done that because they've taken a look at some of the mistakes they've made, some of the situations that they've been in, and gone that route and really pulled it out. Look, me shooting video over here and learning from that, is that a big deal? No, not really. It's definitely not a big deal. But I just want you to understand that all you really need to do to get started is to get started. Start by using the camera that's already in your computer and hit the go live button on Facebook. Do a Facebook Live. Easy enough to do. Use your camera, your phone to go and do that. StreamYard, free version, do that. Zoom, free version, do that. Just get going and just get going. And then kind of figure out what's going on in the background. It could be something as simple as getting yourself a green screen. It's a green screen right here that attaches to the back of the camera. You could use that. Or you just hang some black paper up on the wall behind you and do that. And then you could try to figure out how to do it a little bit better. Let's see if we can do this a little bit better. Hey, David, good afternoon to you, my friend. Nice to see you here. I know I share my problems and then you come magically appearing. What about this? We could change this up around a little bit. All right, we go here. That's a little bright. Let's get that out of the way. Can tone that down a little bit. All of a sudden, we got a slightly better looking background, right? What did we do? We didn't do altogether too much. We didn't do much there. Oh, where's that? There we go. Turned the tree a little green. I still got the door. All right, well, we could fix that a little bit. Let's turn it a little bit more this way. There. We can take the tree. Yep. Hey, you know what? A tree moves. Look at the way that tree moves. Do that. Put the tree over here. And there you go. And then we're back here. Hey, that's not the worst set in the world, is it? Now, here we go. Kicking back. Was that hard? The amount of money involved over here? That tree? I hate to tell you how old that tree is. But go to one of these stores. Go get yourself a plastic tree. That's it. Just move it around a little bit. Boom. You're good to go. These lights, nothing much. I think they were like $40 each. I got 2 sets of them. Boom. Got a Logitech camera, 922. That was $100. And now all of a sudden we got this thing going on over here. Gonna lose a little weight. Tuck that in a little bit more so. And then we're kind of all set. What do we got? That's it. We're good. So my story is sharing with you those things that I've learned along the way by making this. And that's part of it. I get the chance to see. I got it all over here. Back is this Carrie. Carrie takes photos, by the way. Backgrounds and props help make your surrounding more professional, without a doubt. They certainly do. And it doesn't take altogether too much to go and do that. Definitely not. Or the green screen. You could go that route. I'm actually thinking about paneling this wall behind me with that brick. This way, it give that studio kind of look to it. Maybe darken it up a little bit and make that work that way. That's it. You got the logo that's up there too. It's not hard, but that's part of it. That's the visual aspect of it. What about the rest of it? Confidence. All right. So you figured out the lighting and all the rest of that stuff. Oh, now, all of a sudden, boom, the light goes on and you need to speak. That's not how you want to start. You need to speak. Where do you gain your confidence from? Right. Well, that's kind of a simple thing to do. You just have to. Look, I've been speaking for quite a while. Why? Because I wound up in a situation, in a work environment situation, where I had to speak in front of a group of people and I was not that good at it. So I joined Toastmasters. I went that route. Gave me much more confidence in my communication skills. And I took on all kinds of roles, all kinds of projects, did all kinds of things. Gave speeches I was comfortable at, did speeches I was not comfortable at, and wound up building up a lot more confidence doing that. So when my time came again back in the work environment to do something else that was not comfortable, I was confident in myself to do it. Was I comfortable giving that presentation? Not necessarily, but I was confident in me that I would do the best that I possibly can, which means I actually felt that the information was so important, it had to get out, which was one, but that I was the right guy to do it. Firm agreed. So off I went and did that. Great amount of confidence comes from that kind of thing. So where do you build your confidence from? Right? Where do you build your confidence from? Let's say, I didn't really mean that as a rhetorical question. I need gel for hair. That's not really where I get my confidence from, but at least I got it cut shorter. So we'll do that. And you grow your hair down to here and it's flying all over the place, then you cut it short, then it's like, all right, yeah, okay. I got to put a little more attention into combing my hair, Dave. Thank you very much, sir. Definitely appreciate that. But where do you get your confidence from? What do? You belong to a religious institution, church, shul, temple, whatever. Get involved a little bit more. Run a meeting. You don't have to give a sermon, but just run a meeting. Do something like that. Get yourself up in front of the crowd. Networking meetings. Run a meeting every once in a while. If you're a part of one of the more structured groups or even the unstructured groups, every once in a while you're going to get 5 to 10 minutes to go and talk about your company. Do that. Do that. Practice it. Practice it in a couple of different places with people that will give you real feedback as to how to do that. You need places to practice it where you're going to get real feedback. You could go take a look. I'm sure there are different seminars that are given. Miller Business Center, Stony Brook Small Business Development Center, wherever it might be. Your accountability partner, your mentor, your coach. Remember what I said there about family members. Sometimes family members and those that are really close to you don't want to hurt your feelings, and they're not going to give you the full story that goes along with it. So you got to go someplace where you're getting real, honest opinions about what it is. And remember, whatever speech you're giving, you got to get 3 different things with it. 1, why should they listen? And I'm assuming on this, why should you listen? Is because you're thinking about hosting your own show or maybe being a guest on somebody's show, where a lot of this stuff still works right into it. You still need to look professional. Carrie said props, things like that in the background still need to be appropriate. It needs to and can very much tell your story as it goes along. So why should you listen to it? Credibility on my part. How do I gain my credibility? I'm going to read the comment over that one. Nope, nobody wants to comment yet. I'm sure we'll get something there. But that's through various designations. That DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster, that's through Toastmasters. I get it that way. Posting on my Facebook page or websites, whatever, different places that I've spoken at. So when you see that, you figure, all right, maybe the guy knows something, or maybe I'm just living in oblivion and just speaking anyhow, or hosting different shows, things like that. Adds to the credibility. And then the other side of it comes out is that actionable idea, which is what I'm hoping I'm giving you right now. So take action. Easy enough to do it on the stuff that's behind you and the props and things like that. You could easily fill in things or just get a green screen and use a virtual background. And then when it comes to sharing your story or what do you talk about, there comes the other thing. What exactly do you talk about? So if you're a coach, you're going to talk about some of the things that you've learned along the way. Probably you're going to coach people to get through the challenges that you have faced, and that's where you're going with it. And I know with speaking to a few of you folks that have chimed in over here, I know we've had that discussion about your learning curve and how that helps other people with their learning curve. If you're in that coaching role, if you're playing the other side of the role and you're the authority in that area, you're going that way. So when Carrie comes over and she's showing up as photographer and she's taking those pictures, that's not a learning curve. For you, she's not coaching. She's putting her professional face forward and taking those photos. Same thing with David in his area. Same thing. He's showing up. Not so much as coaching at that point in time. There's always a blending in there, but actually showing and what makes the most amount of sense for you when you're doing when he's working with you. So that's where that goes on the coaching side of things. So that's one place of getting topics. Here's another one, and this was interesting, and I picked up from a comedy book. Judy Carter. It was the book of comedy. I'll find the name of that book. I'll put a link up with the whole thing. But here is how she came up with her funny stories. She kept a notepad with her. Yeah, notepad. Well, one of these crazy things. Notepad. She kept a notepad with her. Pen. And every time something came up that got a chuckle, she actually wrote it down. And a little brief about that story. Why'd she do that? Because we forget. Oh, there's an obstacle for you. We forget. So anytime anything happened where it was a funny story, a funny anecdote, somebody said something that was so that she could work with, she wrote it down so she had it with her and she was able to reference that back. She wrote out a joke on it or a routine on it, had it in a file cabinet. This way she had all of these things and she was able to build up her material that way. Now, do I tell you this because you're going to be a comedian? Probably not. Am I telling you this because you're going to host your own show? Yeah. Am I telling this because you want to be a good guest on somebody else's show? The answer is yes. And here's the answers to this whole thing. One, if you're going to host a show, what do you talk about? All right. And my wife is here now, Karen. You bounce ideas off of her. You say, hey, what am I going to talk about? And you kind of go, and you figure it out and go that way. So today's conversation was, what am I going to talk about? So therein lies the topic of today. What do we talk about? But think about that as you're going through your week, as you're going through your day, as you're going through it hour by hour, when you're speaking to clients, folks here included, when you're speaking to clients, see what questions come up. It's those questions that people ask you are topics. They're certainly topics. All right. And it's all those little things that you go through during the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. You just keep writing these things down and write them down. Because when it comes time for you to be hosting your show, you may not remember all of them. And here's why you're not going to remember all of them. Because those questions you get, you know it. You just know it. You don't even think about it. Oh, yeah. All you need to do is, and it just goes by the wayside. Maybe some really good questions you're going to remember that somebody asked you that is really unique, that you'll remember. But the rest of the stuff that you just know because you just know it, and because this whole thing of what you do just comes very naturally to you, you won't even think twice about it. But write that stuff down. Because if you're getting the same question from different people throughout the week, throughout the month, that's a great topic for you to talk about. So you should not assume that everybody knows what you know. That's not the case, because what comes naturally to you may not come naturally to somebody else. Carrie, when it comes to taking photos, she just might find it natural for her to make whatever adjustments that are inside the camera when it's a cloudy day, or when you're trying to get something that's in the shade where it's sunny outside. I got to do a lot of thinking about that if I pick up a real camera instead of just using the phone to go take a shot. I got to put a lot of thought into that whole thing. So for me, that's a great topic for her to talk about. That's a great topic. If you're in any profession and you continue to get the same kind of questions, write them down. And first thing to do is to write them down. You could think about what you feel that people might want to know about, but that's your perspective. Wouldn't it be better if you're going to be explaining things out that you're getting it from your audience, your potential audience, if they're listening to your podcast, the clients that you're working with, some of their questions? If you can answer those most common questions by doing your own show, well, you know what happens? You save an awful lot of time, and that material can certainly be used in order to promote your authenticity, your sincerity, and your knowledge about that topic. And again, more people asking the same question, you might get yourself out in front of others as, I got that question too, because it's a common question. So you got that. All right, that's if you're hosting. But what if you're a guest on someone's show? Same darn thing. Same thing. Because invariably, the host is going to ask you some sort of a question that has to do with your typical client. Who do you normally work with? What's a common question is an easy one for a host to ask. What challenges do many of your clients face? Those kinds of things. You should have them off the top of your head, because you solve problems as a coach, don't you? You're on that show as a guest because you're there to solve some problem. You're there to answer some question. You're there to fill some sort of a void. So these kinds of things should just roll off your tongue. Have them in advance. Know what they are. Have your book. 10 questions that clients are more apt to ask you. Just have them right there. Refresh your memory of it before you get on that show. You don't know what they're going to ask. And probably you're not going to get the opportunity to give them questions to ask you. I don't like that. I personally don't like doing that as a host of a show, because then you get canned responses. But you should know those things. And then you could pick in your mind as you're going through which one would be the most appropriate for the audience that you perceive this host is having, or something that the host might even have an issue with. Could you imagine? I mean, Carrie, let's assume that you're on, my show, and I'm asking you about backgrounds, and I ask you, so Carrie, tell me, when you're working with clients, what are some of the issues that they have, especially if they're shooting video and things like that? And then you start going into background and how easy it is to change up a background. And I'm sitting there myself saying, and I look at my background and I'm like, I wonder, should there be something hanging on the wall behind me over there? But you might just pick up a client by being the guest on somebody else's program. So that's there too. And the last thing that you really want to be prepared for when it comes to content, when it comes to anything you're doing, really, whether it's networking, if you're hosting a show, if you're a guest on someone's show, if you're at a meeting, if you're at any place, is the big closing comment. So tell me, we only have a few minutes left. You probably hear me say that kind of frequently. Listen, we only have a few minutes left before we close the show out. Do you have any final comments? And if you sit there and don't have any final comments, not good. Definitely not good. So here's the things you need to be prepared for when it comes to those final comments. One is that if you could see how much time is left on the show, base your answer on that. That is first and foremost, without a doubt. So here we're at 26 minutes. If I tell you we only have a few minutes left and there's 4 minutes over there, I'm giving you time to answer, without a doubt. If I say, oh, we only have a few more seconds, is there anything you'd like to close with? Now, you should get the inkling in there that you don't have that much time. But again, take a look at the clock if you have it. And if there is not a clock that you could say, our guests can actually see the clock that's over here. But if you don't have that and you can figure out on your phone, how much time is left, use that as a basis. Now, remember, sometimes the host is going to want to make closing comments too. So if it's a 30-minute show, you don't want to go right to the end and not leave them with any kind of a comment in there. But so pay attention to the time. That's important. Pay attention to how that question is asked to you. Any closing comments that it's left wide open, you probably have time. We just have a few seconds left, closing comments. That means we just have a few seconds left. You want to keep it 15 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that. So keep a shorter answer. But what really should go into your closing comments? A takeaway. Not necessarily, especially if it's recorded, but not necessarily your website and stuff like that. Easy enough to do. You can throw it in the comments over here. You're sharing it. Hopefully the host put down how to get in touch with the guest of the day. I know I try to do that when I have a guest on. This way you don't have to spit out your website at the end because, that should be easy enough to find. We're using your name kind of frequently. I can actually do a lower third over here too. So where the information can go across that way. But you might want to ask your host or suggest to your host that there's some way for you to put the information into the program, or if you're sharing the program, and if you're sharing it on social media, it's easy enough to find you because you're the one sharing it. Or if they're sharing it on social media, make sure it's in the description someplace, over there. So it's not necessarily that. Keep it quick on. Oh, you can just Google me. Just Google Brian A. Cohen DTM. You'll be able to find me. Google yourself. Make sure people actually can find you. All right. Make sure they really can find you, and it's very easy for you to have the contact information on those sites. But make your closing comment something that's memorable, something that's actionable. Now, over the course of a show, I like to try to give out 3 actionable ideas in a closing comment. Forget that. Too much. One idea. One idea. That's one very important idea to you. So, Carrie, in a case with you, closing comment you want to make, hey, next time you're a guest on someone's show, make sure that you look in your background. If it's not up to par, figure out a way to do that. Happy to help. That's a big thing. It's or something like that where it's easy enough to change the background on your when you're a guest. Or be careful even when you're taking photos. I know there's like some jokes up there about some of these photos where there's stuff in the background that was unexpected. Most of us are not photoshopping. If you're a professional photographer, you're doing the Photoshop, I guess. But for most of us, no. So a little helpful hints for an amateur photographer as to what to do. Make sure lighting is good, stuff like that. Some comment along those lines. Figure that out. Now, if you know exactly what the most popular question that you get is, that could be something that's thrown into your closing comments, and do it that way. My closing comment, besides the, speak well, speak often, live inspired, is really a matter of just getting started. Make the phone call, do whatever you need to do. Becoming a host, just doing a short video every once in a while. It's not hard to do. It really just takes a little bit of confidence from you to do that, and do it. Video is king. You can speak to your website person, anybody that handles your social media. They need content. Help them create content. Do a program. Become a guest. Give me a call. It's easy enough to do. And then when you do speak, you need to speak well, speak often, and absolutely live inspired. Have an absolutely great day, and we shall talk to you Monday. We get to go at this again on Monday. And who knows, maybe we'll change the background there a little bit. Right on, Carrie. Right on. Oh, it's too far away. I got to get a wireless mouse too. It's right off to reach over as far. All right, buttons. Here we go. Let's go to a brand like that. I guess we can tilt this thing. This is going to read it. Let's go to our tomato. I'm going to change that up a little bit too. Have a great day.